Hello, everybody. Welcome to Clash of the Correspondents. My name's James, and on the second of four C.O.T.C podcasts we're doing during this international break, joined by two of our correspondents right near the top of the Premier League. Firstly, let me introduce you to Aaron Lagor, our Leicester City correspondent. How are you, Aaron?
Very well, thanks, mate.
Good man. And top of the charts, and of course, top of the correspondent mini league because his real team's top of the real league. That's how life works in Planet FPL world. Jonny Pringle, FPL Pringle, our Man City correspondent. How are you, Jonny?
Yeah, good. Thanks, James.
Good man. Aaron, firstly to you, how impressed are you with what your team's done in the absence of James Maddison and Harvey Barnes?
Yeah, very impressed. Very impressed. I think obviously we've changed system, probably down to the fact that they've been missing a bit of personnel, not there, and it's fell into our lap a little bit. Really, I think getting some support up to Vardy has helped because he needed it. Without those two players, it would have been a struggle with him. So yeah, it's worked out great so far. So
when I didn't like you with three at the back in the restart period, I know we spoke about it a lot, and last season didn't end great for you. The frustration for me was like you're leaving Harvey Barnes out the team, and this back three just doesn't feel like it's working. Now it feels different with the link of Perez behind Iheanacho's obviously in form. Jonny will know plenty about him, and I'd be interested to get Jonny's opinion on him in a bit as well. It just feels like it's working. If Barnes returns soon, do you see him sticking with this system? And if so, where does Barnes and Maddison, where do they get back into this team? They obviously will.
Yeah, I think obviously Kelechi at the moment is you can't drop him on current form. So yeah, I think Perez is possibly the one that will drop out, and Maddison will go in there. But yeah, it's good. That's what you want from the squad, isn't it? Competition for places, and I mean, you know, if even if Jamie needs a rest here and there, it might be a possibility. So yeah, I mean, Barnes is going to be, you know, he's probably going to take a bit of time to get back to full fitness anyway, so they can ease him in. But yeah, can't complain with how it's going at the moment. I mean, you said about the three at the back post restart last year, and I think a big problem with that is that we only had about one fit centre half, and he was putting a lot of sort of round pegs in square holes, and it didn't really work. So we spoke about, didn't we, that why would you play three at the back if you only got one fit centre back? So I think the fact that we've now got three fully fit centre backs, it just works. I mean, I looked at the team sheet the other week and it looked so strong. There wasn't a weakness in the side. So yeah, it's looking great. Yeah,
it's so true what you say. I think back to when you played us in game week 37 with Wes Morgan and Ryan Bennett as part of a back three, and you look at the three now with Evans, Sienshu, and Fofana. Strong, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, you know, most sides would look at that, wouldn't they, and think that's a pretty formidable back three there with Ndidi in front and the two wing backs. It's pretty strong. So yeah, good.
If you change to a back four, who do you think misses out from them centre backs?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I guess it all depends on opposition, possibly, but probably Fofana. But God, that'd be really harsh on him, wouldn't it?
Kid's been brilliant for a first season.
Fantastic, so good. I mean, you know, looking at Maguire at the weekend. I mean, obviously we sold him a couple of seasons back. He won't get in our side now, I don't think. I know, strong call. And I'm going to.
I don't think.
upset
To be
some
fair,
Man United fans.
I don't think Manchester United fans think Jonny Evans are getting their team anymore either.
No,
mate.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Jonny, have you got this title won, mate?
Yeah, nearly. I think everyone who doesn't support City thinks it is, but I think for us that a few more games to go, and then. Yeah, hopefully in the bag. Thinking, what is it? Something like we
Start
need
bullshitting. You've won it, mate.
6 out of 9 or something. 6 out of 9 wins we need. Yeah. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, listen, when the teams behind you aren't even getting 2 points per game, mate, you ain't even going to need that many wins, I don't think, mate.
I think that's the thing is I think obviously a lot of City fans are still worried about, oh, well, what if United win all the games? But United aren't going to win all the games, like you say.
See, listen to that, Aaron. If you beat City in game week 30, you're only 12 points behind, mate. It's on.
Yeah.
I want to ask Johnny, the Fulham game, what do you think brought on, because we're talking about systems, what brought on the three at the back that day? Because I can't work it out.
I genuinely have no idea. I tweeted it before the game. I just couldn't. I don't know what Pep's seen. I can only think, and the only explanation I had was that he wanted to rest all the attacking players at once. He wanted to rest Mahrez, Sterling, De Bruyne. Who else was rested? Gundogan.
Why would you want to do that?
I don't know. What was the fixture we had? It was Mönchengladbach in the week, wasn't it? So yeah, maybe you wanted to rest them off for that, and that was just a formation that popped out. That's the only thing I can think. Was just I want to rest all these guys, and I just have to come up with a formation, and that was it.
Or is it simpler that he wanted to give Benjamin Mendy some minutes and went, I don't want him to play left back. I'd rather he's a little bit further up the pitch.
Maybe. To be honest, I was surprised to see Mendy in the team sheet because I think a lot of City fans think he's done at City. But I think a little bit more of a sinister theory from City fans is that he might be trying to free at the back to maybe try again in the later Champions League stages, which I really hope isn't the case. Because that is how we get knocked out of the Champions League every season, by shooting ourselves in the foot by doing something daft like that.
Let's be honest, and I'll put my own team in amongst this. The last couple of teams you've lost to in the Champions League quarterfinals have been worse than the team you're about to play in Borussia Dortmund with. I mean, they've got a superstar striker up front who... Are you buying him, by the way, while we're on the subject, Johnny?
I hope so. Really hope so.
We're obviously talking about Haaland. I think we speak about it a lot, me and Serge, and we get asked a lot, where do you think he'll go? And we always come back to the same conclusion. Surely City want to buy him. It just seems blatantly obvious.
I've thought about it a lot. A lot of City fans have discussed it a lot, and I think you can rule out clubs like Barcelona because they got no money. I mean, Real Madrid sound like they're interested. Bayern Munich will obviously still got Lewandowski. It just seems all lined up for City. For so many seasons, we've discussed, we're going to have to replace Aguero eventually. We're going to have to replace him eventually. And he always just seems to squeeze one more season out. And then I think what's been waiting as well is if the right replacement had have popped up, we might have sort of pulled the trigger. And I think this season it looks like Aguero might finally be done. And the perfect candidate seems to have emerged with his release clause activated next summer. So it feels like you can probably take advantage by making the higher offer this summer. It just all seems to make too much sense. I think it's got to the point now where I'd actually be annoyed if we didn't sign him.
Well, yeah,
I think it seems that perfect.
That was going to be my follow-up question because, I mean, there's plenty of talk of Harry Kane at the moment and whether he might decide now's the right time to move on from Tottenham. But in Haaland, you get a younger prospect considerably and for half the price. It's almost, when we speak about City and the amount of money you spend, we say it so often, you have never spent that 120, 130 million on an individual player. So surely Haaland fits right into the profile of what City want to do in the type of transfer they want.
Well, I think that's something that's been discussed is, I know obviously City have got a reputation and you can't deny it that we do splash the cash around a lot, but I think the people that run City do try and make a conscious effort not to spend more than say 60, 70 million on players, just so they're not up there with the transfer record. So we can't be labelled as, spending 100 mil on Pogba, spending 80 mil on Maguire. But I think the one position you probably have to make an exception for is Aguero's replacement. I don't think you can mess around with that, and I hope that we don't. And I can see us, finally dropping 100 mil or so on Haaland.
You talk about, you bring up Maguire. It's the second time he's managed to find his way into this podcast. But actually waiting the year, I know obviously with Laporte's injury, it part cost you the title last season. But waiting that extra year and not paying as much for Ruben Diaz was the right answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, it can be frustrating. Again, it's talked about amongst City fans. We did it with Jorginho. We tried to sign Jorginho in 2018 as Fernandinho's replacement, and it didn't happen. And they didn't have an alternative, so we didn't go out and panic buy. We just said, right, we'll just sit back, wait a year, and then went and picked up Rodri. And it seems to be a good way to do it, really, because you just don't end up picking up, a panic buy for less, just a player who's not as good for just as much money. And
Rodri's been much better the last 3 months or so, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's improved individually. I think he's been helped a lot by the system. I think it is something. I think it's a recurring theme in City's players. I think they're all obviously very good players, but they're all elevated to a level because of the system. And I think the whole thing with Pep reverting back to fullbacks coming inside has just helped him out a little bit. But yeah, you can't deny he has upped his game a lot in the last few months.
What do City fans describe the system as? Do you say it's 4-1-4-1 or is it 4-3-3? How do you guys describe it?
I think you have to simply see it as a 4-3-3, but you can usually predict what's going to happen in the games.
What, win?
Well, I mean, yeah. With players, with fullbacks coming inside, and which players are going to drop in and which players are going to stay wide and stuff like that. You can usually predict the patterns before the game.
Aaron, your team has fared better than most against City over the last, well, I guess that's since Guardiola's been in the job. One of the main reasons is Vardy's pace on the counter-attack. I'm right in saying, Johnny, it was Ake and Stones for the 5-2 at the start of the season, I think I want to say.
Garcia, wasn't even that. It was Ake and Garcia. Which
wow.
Is just,
okay.
Looking back.
So we can just put that under the carpet now, can we? And
yeah, we're just pretending that result never happened.
Are you doing the same, Aaron?
Well, whatever has happened since then, yeah, I suppose so. It was a bit of a freak result, wasn't it, really? Freak game.
Johnny, does Vardy worry you? Is that a player fucking not him again?
Yeah, he did, particularly last season, because we were particularly down to the bare bones at centre-back. He always does. He's just obviously good record against top six, pacing behind, can mesh your centre-backs about a bit. So, yeah, you can't deny that he does worry you.
Does that mean we're more likely to get someone like Kyle Walker, do you think, in the fixture?
Yeah, probably, yeah. And I think Stones isn't short of pace. He's deceivingly quick. But yeah, you're probably right. He likes to play Walker. Although he didn't against United, and that was, I thought, one of his biggest mistakes this season.
Yeah, that's what we said as well, that we thought afterwards he would really regret that he didn't play Kyle Walker against
I couldn't
Marcus
believe
Rashford.
he didn't play Walker against United. And yeah, I think he might do the same against Leicester.
Because there's been a few games, like you mentioned it before, I think before you played Palace, and you went, it'd probably be Kyle Walker because of Zaha. There were certain games where you feel, yeah, he's going to play Kyle Walker. And I think Vardy, obviously, him and Iheanacho are quite split, aren't they, Aaron? And Vardy's got a preference for that left-hand channel, wasn't he? So I could definitely see that Kyle Walker potentially playing in that game, which, Johnny, all the FPL listeners are now going to be going, please tell me, Johnny, that Cancelo's going to play on the left-hand side then.
Yeah, so I think, most of the games Walker's played on the right, Cancelo has played on the left. Again, for that balance, because to counteract Vardy's pace, you sort of want Vardy, you sort of want Walker in the middle a little bit, so he has to sort of tuck in as a free, and then Cancelo comes into midfield. So yeah, you'd like to see that.
Johnny, Aaron, I'm wildcarding in game week 31.
Yeah.
And following the City game, you've got West Ham away, which is obviously a tough fixture at the moment. Then West Brom, the Cup semi, Palace, Southampton, Newcastle. Great run of fixtures. Mm-hmm. Talk me out of not buying Iheanacho and Vardy together.
I can't particularly, because I'm thinking about doing it myself.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, you've not really got a lot to lose. I think that the biggest issue you've got as an FPL manager at the moment is there's not really many strikers that are putting their hand up as being, standout picks. And with those fixtures, it all depends on kind of Barnes' fitness, I suppose, a little bit, but I can't see him coming out of the team anytime soon. So, that value, 5.7, I think he is now, Iheanacho. You can't, that's amazing, isn't it?
If you're buying one, do you buy Iheanacho rather than Vardy?
I guess it depends on your setup, but if you've got the money to get both, then yeah. I mean, Vardy's due, isn't he? It's been a while, so why not this game? Well,
and I guess that's the other thing. I think Johnny mentioned Vardy's record against the big six teams is as good as it is, if not better than it is against the rest of the league. So, I mean, with them fixtures, should we even be looking at Vardy? I mean, you're looking at, say, like West Brom, Palace, Newcastle. You can see those three teams, particularly in them games at the King Power, going quite deep. Are they even better fixtures, arguably, for Iheanacho than Vardy?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, because they're going to try and stifle us, aren't they? They're going to try and sit deep, trying to, let us break them down. And that's one of the themes of this season. We have struggled when teams have done that against us. So, I mean, our home form has picked up, but it's not been great all season. It's one of the reasons why we're so many points behind City, because we've got the best away record in the league. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how those games go.
What's your thoughts on Iheanacho, Johnny? Obviously, you had him at your place.
Yeah, I really liked him. He was an exciting signing when we got him, and I really liked his sort of like raw ability. I remember when he came in. I know this is a bit of a bold statement, but I remember him being sort of more composed, and I thought he might have been a better raw finisher than Aguero. At one point, he was really good under Pellegrini, and then he started obviously in Pep's first season as sort of second fiddle to Aguero, and I think because Iheanacho he plays sort of second striker behind Vardy, and I think that's where his best position is, because we don't really play with a 10 and obviously play with a lone striker. He did struggle a little bit, and then we bought Jesus in the January transfer window, and Iheanacho just didn't get a look in at all. And then I think, how much did we sell him for, Aaron? Was it 35 mil? I think most City fans saw that as a good deal. I think we've still got a buyback clause actually, but I think most of us felt like 35 mil was a good deal.
Yeah, you have got the buyback clause. Is it 30 million, the buyback clause?
I can't remember, but I know a few City fans. I know a few City fans this week have mentioned the prospect of reactivating again. But
well, if you don't get Haaland, mate.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that clause was looking sort of a bit. They obviously put that in there, but it wasn't looking particularly great at one stage, was it? Especially when he was in and out of the team. But it's looking pretty good that you put it in there now.
Yeah, I know, because I mean, City. There's supposed to be something else with Douglas Luiz. We've got one with Aston Villa, and I think he's worth Douglas Luiz. You could argue is now worth more than his buyback clause, so it might be worth City's while just buying him back and then selling him to someone else. I don't know whether that's something they might think about with Iheanacho.
Do you know what? This isn't uncommon overseas. The sort of thing you're speaking about. I mean, I don't know the value on Douglas Luiz, but the idea that I don't know, let's say it's 20 million, you buy him back for 20 million, then sell him to the highest bidder for 35 or so. And you make extra profit out of it. I think it's something Real Madrid have done quite a bit. I want to kind of name them out loud. Let's put them to shame. They're loads of money in debt anyway. I always remember with Iheanacho, Johnny, a goal he scored against us in a game we won at your place on Valentine's Day when Pellegrini must have been still in charge. I think the last season before Guardiola. Yeah, it must have been. And he went and he scored the equaliser. Great finish. And he went and celebrated by himself, and no one joined in with him. Was there ever sort of character questions about him? Because he seemed a greedy player. Whereas I think that's changed a bit at Leicester. And Aaron had probably referenced his great interview after the hat-trick against Sheffield United. He was like, I want to thank all the mums and stuff like that. It seems like he's kind of grown up as an individual. Was that a problem at City, Johnny?
I don't think so. I mean, I really like him. I loved his interview against, especially after United. But I think it was, they say, the game against Sheffield as well. But I never noticed that in the time that he had at us. I did. Someone on the Totally Football show last week mentioned it about how he'd been celebrating on his own Leicester's goals recently. And you know what? Almost like, because he's celebrating like he feels like he's catching up on lost time and he's not enjoying his goals yet. But then the last couple of games, he seems to have been enjoying himself a bit more. So it's interesting that other people have picked up on that as well.
Aaron, a word for Youri Tielemans, because I feel like we've mentioned everyone in the squad, and for me, we probably haven't mentioned your player of the season. Is that a fair shout?
What, Youri? Yeah. I mean, he's barely missed a minute all season as well. I mean, he's just been so consistent, hasn't he? He's had Mendy in there with him at times as well, so he's had to shoulder a lot more responsibility in that midfield. Yeah, he's just so versatile. He's got us out of, when we've been playing out of the back in difficult positions as well. He's very comfortable on the ball. He's really, he looked great when he came in start last season, but then he's really kicked on again. He's gone up a level or two this year for me. So really, really impressive. Yeah,
I think he had a dip towards the end of last season because we obviously came in that January before and absolutely exploded, didn't he? But I think this year his consistency, I feel like he's evolved into a great all-round central midfielder now, whereas before people didn't know if he was a 10 who he was obviously capable of getting goals from that position, but I think he's developed into a really controlled, great all-round midfielder. Like, I don't think he particularly has a weakness. It's easy to forget with him as well that he's 23.
Yeah, he's very young. I mean, obviously, he burst on the scene when he was really young, played a lot of Champions League games. But I think post-restart last year, he looked a bit leggy. I don't know whether he just wasn't quite up to speed again, but he's looked fitter, leaner this year. And he's just been amazingly consistent. So, yeah, in every match he's played, I don't think he's really had a bad game all season, to be honest. It's a big testament to him.
Good enough to play for you, do you think, Johnny?
I was just about to say, he reminds me of Gundogan. He, obviously Gundogan's, I don't know how old he is now, but if Tielemans fancies a go at the proper City, then he can come and replace Gundogan if he wants.
Few Swansea fans will be upset with that comment, I think, mate. I know you didn't call them Sheffield on purpose because you did say United and then Sheffield, so we'll get you away with that. Gundogan versus De Bruyne, Johnny, is going to cause a lot of debate for FPL managers. On the face of it, Gundogan's consistency, price, he's easy hold, isn't he? Or is KDB about to do what KDB is capable of, in your opinion?
I don't know. It's a very difficult one because I got asked recently and I gave my opinion on it. Because Gundogan obviously did his bits against Tottenham, didn't he? And then got injured and had a few games without really doing anything. And then he played deep against Crystal Palace, but still scored. And I said at that point, it might be time to look elsewhere because I thought, obviously, Rafinha at that price point, Jota, Mason Mount, they were just about emerging. But then since then, he scored against Mönchengladbach, he scored against Everton. And yeah, you can't see past him at that price point, really. I think it comes down to the classic question of just how much they're going to play. It's whether you're willing to take the gamble on De Bruyne.
Listen, we do this every time. There's no point saying, what do you think the 11's going to be against Leicester when the majority of players have got 3 international games beforehand. You've got the Champions League game afterwards. It's like predicting the impossible. We know that. But do you foresee, if you were to get to, say, the Champions League final, how seriously do you think the Premier League games will be treated, bearing in mind you're probably likely to win the Premier League with 4 or so games to spare?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, obviously everyone expects us to win the Prem now, and I think most of City fans do. But we still have to win the games. It's not like you can just blanket rotating them. Like I said, if we were to lose at Leicester, and then I can't remember who we've got after that. Obviously, we don't play Villa the week that we play the Carabao Cup final now. So all of a sudden, you could find a gap closer. He does need to treat the Prem games seriously. I think he will prioritise the Champions League games. But I put in this little Twitter thread I did. It's not as if he's just going to play an 11 and then totally play another 11. That's the beauty of obviously City's squad is, and why we get so far in all the competitions is when he does rotate, you still have such a strong team. 2 of Laporte, Stones and Diaz will still have to play. 2 of Bernardo, KDB and Gundogan will still have to play. So the second string will still be, or the second team that might play in the Premier League will still be very strong. You know, I mean, you probably get 2 out of 3 games out of KDB and Gundogan.
The problem with that is when the second string team is like what it was when it was at Fulham, mate, where just like as you said, like suddenly every attacking asset that could have been an interest to someone, none of them played.
Yeah, but obviously that just came totally out of the blue. Like I said, he might do that again. You don't know what goes on in Pep said. That might be what he's thinking. He might think, right, let's play this team in the league. and just try and play that false nine system.
Well, I think that's the point, is it? You must have thought yourself, even though, okay, it's Fulham, they're in the bottom three. When you saw that team against Fulham, you must have thought, well, this is a bit of a risk, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. When I saw it, obviously, because just all the informed players were just out. And then all of a sudden you've got Aguero, who feels like he can barely move now. Jesus isn't on good form. Mendy's obviously been out for so long. Yeah, I wasn't confident going into that Fulham game. And it sort of got handed onto a plate on us. I don't think we played well first half. And then, 3 sort of freak goals later, we ended up 3-0 up and looked like we won the game quite easily.
To be honest, you two are probably the only two teams that's played Fulham this calendar year and actually been comfortable against them, ironically, actually. A word on Sterling, Johnny, because I know obviously played at Everton the weekend in the Cup, but 3 games with no minutes before that. There were rumours, which Sterling himself would like, nah, sod that, there's nothing in it, about him approaching Guardiola and asking why he wasn't playing. I think the Southampton game. Is there anything in the fact that he didn't play? I mean, 3 games in a row doesn't seem to make sense. Is there something going on, or is he missing form a little bit?
I think a bit of both. I wouldn't be surprised if something did go on. Apparently it was that, I can't remember what it was. I think it was something that like Pep claimed that the players that hadn't played well against United weren't to play against Southampton or something, but Foden still did or something like that. But yeah, he just hasn't been on form. He's just had a real up and down season. He had a real sort of like good spell of form in like January, February, and we all thought he was getting back to form again. And then he dropped a proper stinker in the first leg of Mönchengladbach. Didn't have a good game against United, and he seems to have gone back to square one again. And from being sort of Pep's golden boy and being the first name on the team sheet, he does seem to have fallen behind Mahrez and Foden in the pecking order slightly.
Is that your best team in your opinion then now? Foden left, Mahrez right?
Yeah, I think this system with the false 9, with Bernardo, Gundogan, KDB all playing, with Mahrez right and Foden left, is definitely our strongest team at the moment.
So Raheem Sterling not in City's strongest team.
Yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it is at the moment.
Amazing.
Have you got any thoughts on that, Aaron?
Well, Sterling's a funny player. He's when he's on form, he's red hot, isn't he? But it feels as if, I mean, going back to the Champions League, that he got knocked out last season, and he missed that golden opportunity, didn't he? And he's a player that gets affected by things like that, I feel. I don't know whether he's particularly got over that. I mean, he has had spells, like you said, Johnny, this season. He's been good. But, he's not seemed himself. He has regressed as a player a bit this year, hasn't he, I think? And maybe that's down to the fact that the others, who can come in have improved. I mean, Foden, how he doesn't start every week for you is beyond me now, really. It's amazing. It's a shame. It's a shame to see, because we need a fully firing Raheem, don't we, for the Euros, really? So, but yeah, he has regressed a little bit for me.
Do we? I'd rather Phil Foden played for England than Raheem Sterling, personally.
Yeah, I would. That says a lot, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, I listened to Jack Grealish over both, but go on. Sorry, Johnny.
I listened to a City podcast yesterday, and there's a very good point made on there that Sterling's sort of bad form is very visual, in that he misses a lot of chances, and you can see him visually struggling. His game's all about, obviously, like I said, getting in the box, getting on in and finishes, beating men. And you can see his confidence really suffer. You can see him stop trying to take players on. Like I said, I don't know why Pep persisted playing him against Wan-Bissaka every time he plays against United, because he just seems to get pocketed every time.
To move him out.
And like you say, Aaron, is like when he misses chances like that, the City fans, obviously, as much as you're rating him, as much as we love it, you can't help but get frustrated. But for example, when Bernardo Silva had a sort of bad spell of form last year, like I said, it wasn't as obvious, if you know what I mean. You could see he was just a little bit leggy, and yeah, you can really see Sterling's ups and downs, and I suppose it comes from him. We know how good he can be. I was just watching clips from him in the 18-19 season. It just seems that Raheem Sterling seems so far away from the one at the moment.
But that's interesting you mentioned that season, because we've seen 17-18, 18 goals and 17 assists, 35 attacking returns, 32 attacking returns in 18-19, 26 in 19-20, 16 so far this season. So, I mean, even if he was to get one per game to go, he's not going to hit that target. Although, admittedly, he finished last season extremely well as well. So, I mean, just in terms of attacking output, basic goals and assists, there is a slow progression of a drop-off.
Yeah, we talked about it before. I think a big thing is that he plays on the left more. In them seasons in 17, 18, 18, 19, he obviously had Sane on the other side. And obviously playing on the left, he can't get them tap-ins. He gets a few tap-ins because obviously De Bruyne slips into that channel. But I think we have looked good when Foden's played left and Sterling's played right. So I would quite like to see him more on the right. Foden's just transformed into just an unbelievable attacker. Like, so we all thought he was going to be a centre midfielder, but he just seems so fast, so dynamic. He could be that left winger, could be that Sane replacement and play anywhere across the front three. He's just so good, Foden.
Love him. Joy to watch as a footballer. Aaron, I want to ask you about the two fullbacks, if I can. Castagne and Pereira. With James Justin's injury, they're a lock at the moment, aren't they? And as presuming, at least until Harvey Barnes is back fit, you probably stay with this back three. We should be considering these guys with that great run of fixtures you've got. Have you got a preference for either one?
What, for either the fullbacks?
No, as in from an FPL perspective, as in to buy one. So Castagne is 5.7, Pereira's 5.9. Although I note yellow flagged at the moment, but let's assume he needs to be fit.
I think he's got a small little hamstring tweak.
Big Castagne.
Yeah. Yeah, at the moment. I mean, obviously, both fully fit, you would go Pereira all day long, but Pereira's still not back to kind of the Pereira of old that we all love. So I don't even think I'd go. I think Castagne is quite expensive, really. He doesn't particularly get in the box. He's not as dynamic as kind of Pereira is. So I don't think I'd really want either. And
Fofana to call down at 5.
Yeah, that's who I would go for. If you're thinking that we can get some clean sheets and we're going to stick with this system, which I think we will do. So yeah, I think he's the value one. The others are just a slightly more. I think Sionchu's 5.4 off my top of my head, and then Evans is about 5.5. So yeah, value wise, I think Fofana's the one. I think if we were to keep clean sheets in some of those games as well, and they were tight games, I think he's the one that would probably pick up bonus.
I was just looking through Fofana's returns for the season. So he's only picked up more than 6 points on 3 occasions. So Sheffield United at home, 7-pointer very recently in game week 28, and Wolves at home in game week 8 were both 7-pointers. And he got a 10-pointer at Tottenham in game week 14. That had a lot to do with Serge Aurier just pushing him over in the middle of the penalty box, was quite helpful. And that's his only attacking return of the season. I think it's the ability of a Pereira to potentially put the attacking return in there as well, which makes him quite attractive. But I think just looking, Pereira hasn't scored more than 6 since he come back either.
The injury would worry me as well. He's coming back from a really bad injury. I don't think he'll be really back up to speed until the start of next season, if I'm honest.
Where are you at with Leicester assets, Johnny?
I'm like you, James, and I think I'm planning on playing my game week 31 wild card. I hadn't really considered Leicester defenders, to be honest, because I just thought it was going to be City, Chelsea, maybe Connor Cody, Cheapo.
Got no chance of catching you then. Sounds like we've got the same wild card.
I suppose maybe, you could sneak a Leicester in there. But yeah, I was thinking about Iheanacho and Vardy. Iheanacho is just such good value in there. You could just have him as third striker. I think Vardy as well. But then obviously the worry is that Vardy seems to be the 90-minute man, doesn't he? So if something was going wrong for Leicester, you'd tend to think Iheanacho would be the one that would be hooked, unless he really does cement his place. But yeah, it's one to monitor, I think. But sorry, in answer to your question, I think at the moment the only one that's in the thinking is Iheanacho.
And for yourself, Aaron?
Yeah, definitely Iheanacho, I think, and possibly Vardy, but and I want to ask Johnny about the 3 City assets I have. Cancelo, do you think he plays against us?
Alan's a piece of string. Go on, Johnny.
I can only say I hope. Obviously, I hope Cancelo plays every game. I think the guy's a baller. Honestly, he's been so good this season.
He's fantastic.
I think he should, because I think what we said about Walker and Ben, Pep would probably like Cancelo to sort of join up with Rodri in the midfield. Go on. Who's the next one?
Well, Gundogan, and I mean, I'm bench boosting, and I've got Stones, so it'd be nice to know that they
bench boosting with the City players. This was always going to be the danger for this week.
Definitely.
Yeah, to be honest, I bench boosted in a slightly unorthodox week and didn't go well. I still had a good week from it, but I was planning my team actually, and I saw that this week was a good week to bench boost. The only thing I'd say about Stones is obviously him and Diaz have gone on international break, but Laporte hasn't, because the French manager seems to have some vendetta against him. Yeah. Which is ridiculous. I think I'd expect Gundogan and Cancelo to play. Maybe not Stones, but
really?
I don't know.
Okay.
But then going back to what you said about the pace, though, Johnny, against Vardy. Like Stones has got the stride. If it's Stones and Walker on the right side of presumably a back 4, that's probably the best combination to deal with Vardy, isn't it?
It really is just like picking lottery balls, though, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
Ask me again. What day is it? It's 5:30. It's 5:30 on the Saturday. The deadline's at 11:30, so might be snippets around in that morning.
Right. Okay.
On Planet FPL Patreon.
Maybe.
It's so difficult to. I feel sorry for you all the time, Johnny, about the asking of the City assets, because I think you kind of said there, that's a big statement to say about like Sterling possibly not part of Manchester City's best 11, but Raheem Sterling could play every Premier League game left, quite conceivably.
That's the thing, isn't it? I remember after in the restart last season, Sterling didn't play all of the home games. Like he played him in all of the away games for some reason. But yeah, there'll be some players who naturally will play all the Premier League games. Like maybe, I know we haven't even mentioned him yet, Jesus or Aguero, because you can't imagine that he'll want Aguero in the Champions League games. So does that mean that he's going to start? I don't know. Like you said, there might be some players that will play all the time in the Prem because they're not in our strongest team in the Champions League.
I don't think, Johnny, and correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm speaking out of turn, but I don't think Aguero is under consideration for you in the slightest.
No, I think I'd agree with that.
It's a real shame, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Of course it is, but arguably, I mean, probably him and Henry and Shearer are probably the 3 best Premier League strikers of all time, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, I can feel the Man United fans on the back of my neck about Wayne Rooney, but I'm considering Wayne Rooney a little bit of a deeper player, if that's okay. That's how I'm getting out of that one anyway. Guys, really, really enjoyed that. Absolute pleasure as always. Aaron, before we let you go, when was the last time Leicester was in an FA Cup semi-final?
39 years ago.
Is that right?
Yeah, before I was born.
Wish you luck. You're obviously big favourites to potentially meet Johnny's team in an FA Cup final in May. You've never won the trophy. It's a weird quirk, even when you had great teams going back to, like, you lost to Tottenham in the 61 final and stuff. Never won the FA Cup. It's a really weird quirk. Would that kind of complete the journey a little bit for Leicester fans to win that trophy this year, or is priority still top 4?
Yeah, I was thinking that you might ask this, actually. I mean, if you were to offer the FA Cup to us now and we drop out the top 4, I think I'd take the trophy. And I know that's not, from the owner's point of view and the progression of the club, that's probably not the best way to look at it, because you want to get in the top 4 and that's the next level up. But as a fan, that's what you live for, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice to see 2 fresh teams in an FA Cup semi-final, knowing that we're going to get a non, I mean, you basically are a Big Six team at the moment, but a non-traditional Big Six team in the FA Cup final. Not that Tottenham ever make it, so might as well call it a Big 5 anyway. And Johnny, who's going to win Champions League, mate?
I don't know. I was just about to say this talk of a nice romantic FA Cup and League Cup final is all nice for you lot, but nothing stopping the oil money sports washing Man City quadruple charge. Unfortunately, boys.
Hey,
Doesn't look like that way.
do you give my team, and I know what you're going to say, but do you give my team any chance in that League Cup final at the moment?
Yeah, because of the Tottenham hoodoo that we discussed so much.
You've got rid of that last month, didn't you? Surely.
Yeah, that's what I'd hope. That's what I'd hope. Going back to the Champions League, I don't know. Obviously, I think we've got Dortmund maybe slightly easier tie than getting a Bayern Munich or PSG straight away, but I think we're in the more difficult side of the draw. I can see Chelsea doing something on the other side of the draw and then maybe getting to the final. I really don't know. I'd like to say it'd be us. I think we are maybe more suited this season. I think we might have been better attacking in other seasons, but it's cost us going out with daft mistakes in the Champions League recent seasons. I'd like to think that because we're a bit more savvy defensively, we seem to have a bit more control over games, that we might be more suited to it. But we'll wait and see. I say that, and Haaland will dump us out, and then we'll sign him in the summer or something daft like that, won't we?
I think there is a big psychological hurdle for Manchester City to clear in this Dortmund game. It is a tie that you should win, but it's obviously not an easy tie, as you'll know.
Yeah.
I just think surely you're not going to lose another quarter-final, mate. You can't, surely.
I think there's been, you alluded to it before, in that the last 2 years, the quarterfinals had been against teams weaker than ourselves. I think that first leg against Tottenham, remember Pep dropped De Bruyne and Sane, didn't he? And he sort of prioritised the other games. I think a lot of City fans do feel like, you saw it in Madrid last year. So we got that big team in an early stage and the team upped the game and we got through, and then just completely took it for granted against Lyon. I'm hoping that because we've got tougher draws, it might just sharpen the minds a little bit, and hopefully we'll keep our levels up in there and we might see something different.
And of course, you play the winner of Bayern and PSG in the semi, don't you? So
yeah, that's what I mean. I think we have got the tougher side of the draw.
Let this sink in for a moment, Johnny. If you get to the final, you will be favourites.
Yeah, I know. Scary. I don't know who I'd rather play. I certainly wouldn't want to play.
You don't want to play Liverpool, do you?
No. I don't know, as much as bad as have been this season, it's just I think I'd hate playing against Liverpool.
Hey, you'd rock up against Liverpool. Isn't it in Istanbul as well?
Yeah.
Van Dijk and Gomez and Matip will suddenly be fit, mate.
Yeah, I know.
Guys, really good. One last question from both of you before I let you go. Correct score predictions. I know it's kind of 10 days or so away, but Aaron, correct score prediction for the game in game week 30, please.
I'd like to think we could stop the juggernaut and get a draw. I could probably see City winning 2-1. Man City.
I was about to say, heart says 2-1, head says 1-1. It's typical, but ask me when the team sheet comes out.
I will say 2-0 to Manchester City. I think there is a desire to get this title done and dusted as quickly as possible, but I think the Champions League is going to take some sort of priority, and I think we can probably expect rotation in that Leicester game. I would be nervous for those bench boosting in game week 30, and I think for those who have lined up to it, it's probably the right thing to do. But you've got 3 Man City assets. If you're stuck with that, any of them could miss out, and that's always the danger with a bench boost of City in a single game. I mean, even a double game week, what do we all get from Diaz and Stones and the likes? And I know we've done great with them traditionally, but in the last one was particularly bad, wasn't it? Guys, you can follow Aaron on Twitter, Aaron Lagor, and you can follow Johnny at FPL Pringle. I'll be back on streaming on YouTube around about 3:00 tomorrow afternoon. Next C.O.T.C will be on Tuesday, Southampton versus Burnley with FPL Gaffer and Turfy Top. And we've also got Arsenal versus Liverpool next Thursday with 3-5 Who and FPL Loco Lord. Best of luck to both of you two for the rest of the season and in the cup competitions, except Johnny on April 25th. I've got to sit behind the bus and keep my fingers crossed. But I wish you luck, guys. Thanks very much for your time. Cue music, please, Mancha.